You've been busy, Mike.
Yeah, it's been a hectic last couple of weeks with everything.
Yeah, you've been shuffling cars around and getting things fixed. And
Shuffling cars, crawling under the hood of old trucks.
doing all that stuff. You've had more fun than I have. I just rebuilt the studio, all by myself and stuff. I take that back. Amy, she helped me run the wires for that wall back there. Mm-hmm. So she got in. You don't have to get in underneath. You just have to crawl in the crawl space to get the... And your new banners? I got to figure out... There's new banners. Well, this way.
They do look spectacular, Travis.
All right, let's get into this. You ready? You remember how to do this?
Yes, I do.
All right. Here we go.
Right.
And now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Season 7 of Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast who creates sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF 1 accreditation. On this week's show, Episode 1, Mike just got back from the Saratoga Vet and Farrier Conference over in New York. He's going to tell you all about all the different people he talked to and all the different experiences he got into as well. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis. How are you doing, sir?
Doing all right. And don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video. You can see all the visuals that happen here in the studio. Mike's got a couple displays, some antique, classic news articles or actual advertisements for horses that were from the 1912s, the early 1900s.
Actually, I think this ad they said came out in 1901.
So we'll show you that as well. So stick around for that, and you can see that on our YouTube channel. Just go over there and like and subscribe, and you can see all the visuals here in the studio. And speaking of studio, look at the brand new studio, Mike. What do you think? You go away for a couple weeks, and the whole place gets remodeled.
It looks spectacular, Travis.
You can see your banner in the background there.
Yeah,
you can see all the different shows that broadcast out of this location. So we'd like to thank you guys for joining us here on Season 7. Big show, a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of big series. You got a whole bunch of people coming in this year or during this season. So make sure you stick with us and hang out with us. And I hope everyone got caught up with all the past episodes from Season 1 all the way to Season 6. And now you should be a professional farrier. If you're coming into Season 7, Mike, you should be a professional farrier by now.
Maybe.
I mean, not you. I know you are. I'm talking about the people that listen to the show. They should be a professional. At least they have a better idea as far as the biomechanics of what a horse actually is and why it moves the way it does.
Right.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes,
Maybe.
hopefully. So,
at least something to think about.
So, how was your trip? You went up to New York. And
I went to New York.
And this conference was called the National Alliance of the Equine Practitioners. Now, tell us why you went there and what is all involved and how many people showed up. And we'll get into who you actually talked to in the discussion you had a little bit later in the show. But why did you go? What is it there? What is it there for?
Well, this was a venue that is aimed at vets and farriers together. The Hoof Care Summit has a lot of stuff for vets and farriers also. But this is a little smaller group, a lot more contact with people, easier to actually talk with people. I saw a number of people that I already knew from other venues, other times in my career, and met some new friends. Got to spend some time with several people that I have followed the research they have done over the years.
And some of the people that Mike met and discussed and had some great detailed conversations with, and we're going to talk about them here in just a little bit. And one of them is Chris Pollitt, and he's a laminitis researcher and expert on that.
Well, anything in the hoof, Chris Pollitt spent a lot of time researching it, and he says this was going to be his last trip to the U.S. And
so where is he from?
He is from Australia.
That is a long walk to get here.
Just a little bit, yes.
So we're going to talk about what
are your water wings.
We'll talk about the conversation that Mike had with him, and also Sherry Johnson, and she's an equine, a rehabilitation of the equine athlete. Is she talking about the rider or the horse?
Yes,
both.
Horse.
So the horse,
but some rehab of the human kind of goes along with it.
Okay, and also Shane Westman, And he's the discussion you had with him was talking about modern materials that they're now starting to roll out with farriers or for farriers.
For farriers, and some of these materials are not near as modern as you would think as far as the idea of something besides steel on horses' feet. Well, they were doing other things before steel came along, and there's been other things since then to go a lot back a lot further than people would think. Shane is the resident farrier at UC Davis. I remember a few years ago in 2016 when I did the interview with him.
Yes.
Shane is the one that ended up accepting the job.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, well, good for him.
So we're good friends and try to keep up and all that sort of deal, you know.
How's the home? How's the home life? Did the missus, because you were gone for what, like a week and a half at this convention?
Busy, repairing trucks, shuffling stuff around,
trying to get caught up,
getting caught up. Deals, you know, worked into the program. Vet referrals, you know, so normal stuff.
We left off last season. We were talking about, like, if you go on vacation or something like that, you know, you basically schedule all your horse trimmings and stuff so that you can have that week off with no problem, or time off with no problem.
Right.
Did you do that this past time when you went up to Saratoga, New York?
I crammed the schedule together, and then after I'm back, I've crammed the schedule together.
I know after the show you have to go down and take care of our little ponies that we have here.
Right.
So
I had to rearrange your schedule because of an appointment that I have to have on tomorrow evening.
It's all about this guy right here.
It's all about you. All about you.
All right, and this program's all about you and your ponies and the biomechanics of your ponies. And Mike Stine's here to give you a little bit of knowledge of what he knows, and we'll have some fun in the process. So make sure you stick around, enjoy us all the way through season 7. This will take us all the way to Christmas, and then we'll get back to season 8, starting at the first of the year. So here we go, start of episode 1, season 7. So stick around. We got a lot to talk about, lots to dive into, big show to get into. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. We'll come back here and then go to camera 6. You ready?
The wind's blowing outside.
I know. You see that?
Yes.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget to follow him over on Facebook. He's got a new page over there. Just search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine. And something we're going to do in season 7, Mike posts a bunch of different articles, and we talk about the articles, and Mike's got a big following over there, so make sure you like and subscribe to him over there on Facebook as well. We're going to start talking about just a small little snippet of some of the articles, the interesting articles that Mike posts on his Facebook page. So if you'd like to be joining part of that, go over to Facebook, like him, Equine Dynamics Mike Stine, and we'll incorporate those articles into this show as well. And then if there's anything that you'd like to talk about with Mike Stine, if you have any questions or anything, go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Fill that form out there, put your question in there, make sure you put a return address, and we'll send you out a little prize pack for being part of the show. And over there mumbling real quick to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, there was something popped up on one of the YouTube deals. Someone had asked a question about why not blocking, along those lines. I don't remember word for word.
Okay.
And some of those horses we've talked about were far enough back at times, and with the situation we were working in, that wasn't always available. It's much more available now than it used to be.
And remind everyone what is blocking. Not me, just remind everyone else what blocking is.
In football, no. As far as like nerve blocking.
Oh, okay.
And that's not always appropriate to find everything anyway.
Now, speaking of your Facebook feed, that one article that stuck out is you had this nerve skeleton drawing of all the nerve endings coming down the front of the horse's leg,
right?
Which is the
leg.
No, what is it called? The bone that's there.
The cannon bone.
Yeah. No, up top here.
Okay.
I don't know.
Wait, on your leg or his leg?
His leg.
Front leg or hind leg?
Front.
Well, it's different on the front. The front's same laid out like your arm.
Never mind then. But you've got this drawing of all the nerve endings and the blood flow and everything that goes down to the horse's foot,
right? Which
is really, really interesting to see all the little tendons and nerves and actual flow of how a horse's foot looks with all the if you were to x-ray it with all those nerve endings and stuff. So check that out. I'm butchering it up, but you can see it.
I'll help you butcher it up.
You can see it over on Facebook. Just search for Equine Dynamics Mike Stine over there as well. Now, we are going to talk about, you talked to a gentleman by the name of Chris Pollitt.
Yes.
And this is a gentleman from Australia, from down under. I have to say that because when you talk about Australia, us Americans, that's the first thing that comes out of our mouth. Shrimp on the Barbie, have a Foster's, and from down under. And he flew over here. Geez, that must have been a 20-some-odd hour flight.
It's a good little trip.
Did he say anything? And he's not a young man. He's up there in age.
He's got a few road miles on him, yeah.
Did he say anything about the flight coming over here?
No, we really didn't get into that discussion.
All right, so don't forget, for every podcast we have a matching video, and Mike's got some pictures of, actually, let me switch screens here so we can all see it, and we can all be friends. So here we go. This is actually, hold on.
Do we really want to be friends?
We do want to be friends. This is Chris Pollitt, and there's Mike Stine standing next to him. Lovely as ever.
Right.
And so this is at the Saratoga Vet and Farrier Conference this past week in September, actually 2 weeks ago. And so this is him. So tell me what his importance is in this whole conference that you were doing.
Well, Chris Pollitt has done a lot of research on horses' feet down to the cellular level, and he has been somebody that has really brought out a lot for us to think about in the horse world. And he's one of the people that has really been behind some of this podiatry movement with horses. Mm-hmm. And, he was involved in the wild horse studies down there in Australia, and has dealt with laminitic horses and any kind of hoof related disease you can dream up. He has probably done something on it.
Okay, so here's a 2U, and look, Mike's got his little Equine Dynamics pin on,
right,
representing the show. Good for you. And so the next picture here looks like a coffin bone inside of a hoof.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff that is what would you call it? Laser printed?
Oh, 3D printed.
3D printed.
Yeah.
3D printed. Yes, 3D printed parts, and got some really neat models that we were doing. And this was like wet lab. Of course, there's something from his lecture, a drawing of the blood flow into the hoof and all that. But
so
we talked about hoof anatomy, hoof physiology, and started getting into, what's happening all the way down to the cellular level within the lamina and everything else.
So I was talking about the picture over on Mike's Facebook page. This is almost like that picture I was talking about, where you can see all the tendons and the veins and all the blood flow that goes into the foot. And this was part of his clinic that he was giving.
Part of one of the lectures that was there, yes.
Okay. And now you've got this robotic looking, it looks like Play-Doh here. Mike, explain what we were looking at here. You've got a horse's leg and a hoof, and it looks like it's all made out of Play-Doh, like a...
Right, and he's got a magnet inserted in the front, and they're applying pressure and releasing pressure and showing what happens when you get released the lamina when you have downforce on the hoof. And, this is all a model, but you see that in the front, the wires coming around, it's like they flip the magnet on, and then they did it with the magnet off, and you see what happens when, like, you get laminar breakdown.
So this is showing you, this would physically move. So
this physically moves. We got to rebuild. It's like, I guess that the tendons and ligaments are probably some type of silicone. I'm not sure, and it's plastic, but it's all laser printed and put together.
So it looks like here you guys are playing, playing with the Play-Doh. That's what it exactly looks like.
And this is a model that he's got that you can break the hoof down all the way down. And what I think of a lot of times is some of the more external structures within the hoof capsule, but that is a very busy area. And there's a lot of traffic going on down there, and we've broke apart in groups, and we built these models. And
it's so impressive that the technology that we have now. You think about 3D printing, and you see everyone on TikTok and Facebook, and they're like, "Look, I 3D printed a phone holder for my phone."
Right? They've engineered this so that we can piece the whole thing together. You're actually holding the hoof and leg,
bone by bone, tendon by tendon,
ligament by ligament. And you're putting together the actual structures of the hoof. Now, this model is not cheap. I think it's about $1,500.
Jesus Louise.
Yeah, but it is a wonderful teaching tool.
That's a very expensive Lego set is what that
A
is.
very expensive Lego set.
So here it is. I see someone, you're putting the leg, the knee bone connected to the hip bone and all the other ligaments and stuff.
Yeah.
Just an example of the model of how you can physically touch it, which, you know, this would have been unheard of 15, even 10 years ago.
Right. 10 years ago, we were dissecting legs, and that's not always,
Because once you dissect the leg, basically you're done.
You're done.
You
yes.
can't do that leg again.
We can take it apart. Can't really put it back together, and it's tough finding some of those structures when you're doing a dissection. I've done a number of them over the years, and of course, some people squirm a bit because, well, it's a horse's leg.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if you dissected the frogs or not.
We did the frogs, and then we did like earthworms. That's as far as we got.
Yeah.
That's not, I mean, it's kind of boring.
Well, yeah, that's about as far as we got in school is dissected frogs. But here in the South, you wanted to eat the legs, but they'd already soaked them and stuff, right?
Gross. They always smelled bad. Now, this is a 3D printed hoof of a horse, but a side view of it.
Yes, and if you can see, that is my hand.
I was going to say,
not my hands.
I was going to say, if you look at us on the YouTube channel, I was like, can you tell if this is a presenter of the thumb of this picture is a presenter or an actual farrier? And you can tell that is a farrier's thumb.
Yeah, you think. That's a 3D printed of a laminitic horse that has penetrated.
Now, when they do the 3D printing, do they actually use a real specimen? Like they take pictures of a real specimen, or is this computer? This, I don't know if you know the answer to this one, but or is this
computer generated?
Right.
That is a good question.
Like this is an actual case. Like this is, Shirley the horse.
I think these probably came from actual cases. I don't know if they could do this off of an X-ray or how you would do that. I got no idea. Me and techie stuff, how we get along. If you can't beat it on the hammer, we can't do it.
I was going to say, if it doesn't have a hammer and some metal, Mike has no idea.
That's right.
Oh, you don't want to see that. There you go. All right. So what was the one big takeaway that you had when talking to Chris Pollitt?
Well, just going back on some of the research that he had done with the Mustangs, got to go back and revisit that. I did get a DVD of the presentation some years ago at the Hoof Care Summit. Chris did not present it, but one of the people who had worked with him had presented it at the Hoof Care Summit some years ago. And just getting to go inside the leg, and we start looking at all the little connections inside the hoof capsule, and that is a very busy little area, a lot busier than you would think. And it's like the shoulder sling. There's a massive amount of stuff going on in the shoulder sling. It's not connected like ours. It's a sling of muscles, tendons, ligaments, all holding it together.
And go ahead.
It gives you a better understanding of different pressures, different torques. When people are talking about, we have a problem with this ligament, and the deeper stuff in the deeper ligaments in there on a live horse with ultrasounding through the hoof capsules is kind of tough to see.
And a horse farrier can say so much. I know this. It's all in theory that
right.
But when you actually put your fingers on the tendons and the bones and you break that whole entire leg down, like in the diagram with that $1,500 modeling kit.
Right. That'd be a good thing to just take apart and redo and take apart and redo about 20 times.
Yeah. And it's almost like when you disassemble a gun and put it back together blindfolded.
Right.
You can do it that quickly. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about his conversation that he had with Sherry Johnson in the rehabilitations of equines and their athletes as well. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. No, we don't have any pictures for her, do we?
Maybe a couple pictures.
I don't remember naming them, so.
Okay, there's a couple that we did not name. I thought I'd sent you another one, but apparently not.
I'm going to start with this one. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. And like I said, if you have a question for Mike Stine, you can contact him at any time over at equinedynamics.com. Fill out that little form there. It says contacts podcast. Make sure you put a return address. We'll read it. We'll answer it. Questions, any kind of comments or anything you'd like us to talk about, fill that out. We'll read it, answer your questions, get back to you, and make sure you put a return address on there, and we'll send you out some free stuff from the podcast. And don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a video as well. Over on the YouTube channel, just hit like and subscribe over there, and you can check out you can check out the new studio. You can check out myself and Mike here in the studio, and we have a bunch of visuals. I know last season we brought in a whole bunch of bones and coffin bones and forelegs and back legs and all that stuff here in the studio, models that Mike had, his own personal models and stuff, and you could see those in real time as we're talking about them here on the show. And over to my far hand side in real time is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You look well. You look happy. You look rested. You got a little haircut. You got a different do going on there.
It just got slopped the other way. You know?
The wind that's blowing out there.
Right.
And you brought some of that New York weather from Saratoga, New York, when you were up at the
brought some fall weather down.
When you're up at the Vet Farrier Conference over in September, this past September. Now, while you were there, you met a person by the name of Sherry Johnson. Now, tell us what Sherry Johnson brought to this conference and what you learned from her.
Okay. The deal with Sherry Johnson was talking about the rehab of horses.
Okay.
And, she's talking about early on, you got stall rest. Just let's pick on, say you got a suspensory tendon ligament, something.
I have a suspensory tension ligament or something.
or a joint damage or whatever. But you have a rest period. And, small paddocks, stalls. At this point, we're using more, dealing with anti-inflammatories, dealing with maybe injections, maybe a lot of stuff that you can do while the horse is standing still. And as it progresses, you can, there's a lot of, like your shockwave, like, cold laser. There's, a lot of different deals that can be brought in to help the healing process. As we go into it and we get the inflammation under control, we got healing to a certain point. We need to start reestablishing the horse. And, people say, well, we hand walk them. Well, when the horse is standing in a stall, there's a lot more than, just say you have a suspensory horse. You have a horse that's got to drop back. There are things that you could be doing in the stall that a horse owner can do, like working on just simply standing there and working on raising the back. When you're walking, work on walking in correct posture instead of just flopping along. And that will help the outcome of where your horse is when you get through the therapy better. And then as you increase your exercise program, you can actually do a lot more with getting your horse back together and stronger in hand than I'm afraid a lot of times is done. And if it's not done, it sets your horse up for damage again.
So the question I have for you in this situation, I don't know if this is a proper question to have, but when we,
it's you.
I know it's me, and that's what I am. I'm the simpleton of the show. If you don't know that by now, listen to the past 6 seasons of this show. So if you sprain your ankle, Mike,
right?
The first thing doctor says after he bandages you all up is say what? Stay off.
Don't do that again.
Well, don't do that again. He also says stay off of it. Mm-hmm. Now, with a horse injury like that, is there a stay off of it phrase that a vet would say, or is it basically?
Well, it's kind of stall rest, yeah.
Is it stall rest? Okay, but I mean, physically, the horse still has to put weight on that appendage as it, tries to heal.
Right.
It's not a career-ending. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Basically,
well, the horse, if it's hurting bad enough, will try to relieve some of the pressure.
But then it's going to mess up the rest of his whole biomechanics by standing there and favoring that one side. Would he not? Or is that where the stall walking or the...
Well, that's where after you get through your rest period, you start putting your horse back together and start working. And then if you've been leaning on one shoulder and the shoulder's braced up, you can work on range of movement and do it lightly. And some of the stuff you can do kind of along once things heal. It's just like going in and doing belly lifts to lift the back up. And, teaching a horse to walk forward correctly in good body position with that back up as opposed to just flopping along, backs inverted, and that sort of deal, which takes some horsemanship skills. And I'm not going to say that I'm world class at it or anything, but it's like people backing a horse. I see people back horses to put backs on them. You can do that lightly and easily and get them to round into it. And you can actually get a fair amount of muscle built back on a horse before you mount them. in hand, slow and easy.
Now, you talked.
And it depends on what's going on with which injury, but there's a lot more that we can do in hand, and just walking in the stall and asking us for a light movement, that sort of deal. You can massage a tendon with your hand to kind of keep blood flow in the area. There's so much owners can do on their own. So you had a discussion with Sherry Johnson. She's the doctor of veterinary medicine, and you said that she was talking about the different medical medications and injections and the therapy standpoint that you do. Therapy standpoint. And with tendons and ligament injuries now, she's probably leaning a little more towards compression. Some of the wraps that hold heat in are not as beneficial as we used to think. In fact, sometimes some of those can do some damage. But we are using more at times at certain periods using some compression sleeves and that sort of deal. But now that is, trying to keep it a little cooler when we're doing it. So we've changed some ways of getting there. And
a couple of things that she has, and I'm reading your notes here. Something that owners can do themselves to help their horse rehab or simply improve the conditioning to prevent injuries in the first place.
Right. Yeah, the biggest thing with injuries is prevention and preparing your horse for the job, keeping range of movement, physical fitness, other than just drilling for the particular task.
Now, we're getting into the colder weather now.
Right.
So the grass is more flourished this time of year or no? On the pastures.
With the temperature we've just had drop off, some of our hotter weather, warmer weather grasses are slowing down and have slowed down. Some of them will probably pretty well stop growing now, but some of your cooler weather grasses in this part of the country have kicked in the last month or so, and some of them may grow for a bit yet, and some of those grasses are some of the ones that we have to worry about for laminitis and that sort of deal.
Well, the reason why I bring up the grass is because, the horses put on too much weight, and if you're trying to push this horse that's, way overweight, it'd be no different than me running a marathon. I would die. First mile, you would have to put me down. Sorry.
Well, you could run the marathon. You could run the marathon on a golf cart.
I think if I was to run a marathon, I think there's a time limit on it. I think 2 weeks is a time limit. If you can't finish it in 2 weeks,
yeah,
you might as well just give it up. All right, guys, when we come back, we're going to talk about the conversation that Mike Stine had with Shane Westman. He's an APF. Is he an APF farrier?
Yes.
Okay, so he's APF.
I do believe he is. Yeah, he has been. I think he still is.
Okay, and he's going to have the discussion of all the modern materials that are coming out now that farriers can use that weren't available, even like the model that was 3D printed 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And Mike's got this very interesting framed news article or an advertisement of what they used to sell horseshoes in 1901. So stick around for that as well. If you're not signed down to YouTube, this would be a great time to do that now. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Got that?
Yes, I do. Sort of fighting there for a minute, but
Yeah. I know, it's early. I've kept you up all day.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
We got some pictures for this one.
Yes, we do.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Make sure you follow him over on Facebook. He's got a brand new business. I say a business section. You have a personal Facebook page, and then you can only build up 5,000 followers.
Right.
And Mike Stine basically maxed out at that. And people were like, hey, how can I be part of the Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine podcast? So Mike created an Equine Dynamics business. So he has got a whole lot more on his Facebook page that you can go over there and be part of that as well. And one of the articles, I said that we're going to talk about an article every week. One of the articles that you had on there was the way we were talking about grasses and how grasses grow, and the taller the grass, the less sugars in the grass, and there's more sugar at the very bottom towards the root, which I did not know. So as soon as I saw that article, Mike, I told Amy, I'm like going, oh, do I need to mow the pastures? Do I need to, bring it down so they can get the sugar? And she said, no. We don't want all those sugars in the horse. I'm like going, well, I would want those sugars. She's like, yeah, you have to make the horse eat from the top and go all the way down. And I was like, all right. So that makes sense to a certain point. Is she right? Am I right? Who's right on that one? We both, careful who pays the bills.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking about. Who is it? Who is it that's writing the check today?
Yes.
That's the one that's right.
All right. Well, we'll go with she was right on that one. Because I know you got, after the show today, you have to go down there and you have to clip Cayenne's feet and also Dominique's feet.
Yep.
So
And Cayenne loves me.
I know, Cayenne's a little pistol. Now, speaking of pistols, you talked to Shane Westman while you were out there.
Yes, I did.
And he had a presentation. Let me switch cameras to camera 6 here. And he has a presentation of some of the modern materials that, oh, wait, I forgot to pull that one up. Hold on. So, Mike, if you're watching on a side note here, Mike took a picture of this banner that was at the conference over there. And what's it say right there? I know, you know, I have a crush on a farrier, and I won't tell. And it's a picture of a horse.
Right.
Yeah,
I think all the horses have a crush on me, you know.
I'm sure they do, Mike.
Or they just like to crush me.
One of the two.
Yeah, I think actually it's probably more the second.
So here's a picture from Mike Westman. You're Mike Stine. This is a picture from Shane Westman. And what are we looking at here? It looks like this horse stepped on a whole pile of gum.
It did. Now this is actually the wet lab that was done, and you know, in his talk he was talking about using alternative materials, and this is a deal that they've done out at Davis on horses with like coffin bone fractures, and what they're doing is they're taking fiber and cutting out. I think his standard is about 6 layers of the fiber, and the acrylics, and acrylicing it to the foot to kind of stabilize and hold the shape of the foot. And normally with a coffin bone fracture, an awful lot of times with a coffin bone fracture, you end up with a foot contracting. And what he was saying is doing this, that they have not had the foot contracting. I've dealt with coffin bone fractures. I've not done it in this way.
And this looks basically, I kid about
you're building a casting type material more or less by the time you add the fiber in and the acrylics and you glue it to the foot itself.
So the whole entire foot looks like he stepped in a vat of butter.
Right.
Is that going to harden, or is that going to be soft and there's something else that's going on top of this? The whole entire bottom of the hoof is covered with this butter-like material.
Well, this is not butter. This is an acrylic. And if you notice, the fiber is laid down right up to the frog, tapers down into, into your commissures and all that. And then,
but does it get hard?
Yes.
Okay.
And yes, this is the same material that we rebuilt half a missing foot with.
Oh, okay. So then you can trim this, shave it down, sand it down, and do what?
Right. And what'll happen is it grows out. You get some dead sole layer. Then it'll come off there pretty easy, but it'll stay there for a couple months. And sometimes you might cast over it to build it. And I've done this with casting material and acrylics myself. So there's a few different ways to get there, but it's to stabilize the foot to give the coffin bone a chance to heal up. You don't want the two parts shifting around too much.
So is this horse workable, or is this a stall rest?
This is a cadaver. Could be a stall rest thing for sure. There have been horses that have been to a certain point, and this has been used for other things besides just the coffin bone fractures, and just to stabilize a foot some. And you could also mix some rubber pellets in there and create a little bit of a cushy pad that's actually attached to the foot.
Cushie pad.
Cushie pad.
And what are we looking at here? This looks like a slide from the presentation.
It is, and you have a heart bar on the left and then a pile of other stuff on the right with the heart bar in the middle of it. But, he's talking about some of these plastics shoes. There are a number of them out on the market now, and every year we seem to get a few more, and every year we seem to have a few of them disappear.
Now, over here on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, that is Shane Westman. He's a young guy.
Right.
He looks like he can take over. He's got a few years. So it looks like
Shane's still going at it pretty good. Plans on going at it for a long time yet. He's a good guy. I've gotten to know him over the last few years, and what he's got up there on his shoe deal is the bulk of those are aluminum on the left, work into some fabricated steel shoes for sort of different occasions, to some urethane shoes, plastics, cuffed, on the far end away from us on the right side. And these are some things that they have used at Davis to work with trying to get horses back healthy, happy, and sound. And
if to have some fun, and this is just my personal sense of humor, if I would have had this slide up, I would have gone, all right, find the toilet seat that's up there. And I would say, this guy right here, look at this, how big this horseshoe is. It looks like just one of those toilet seats that you see at a restaurant with the open in the front. Look how big that horseshoe is. Find the toilet seat.
Are you like a toilet seat connoisseur?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
All right. And what is this here that we're looking at?
Okay, this is off of another clinic. I threw that up there. It's rather interesting.
Okay.
It's talking about the breakover phase and how much pressure is released. Now, it shows a steel shoe, and to be fair to the steel shoe, is this a perimeter? I think what they were talking about was a perimeter fit steel shoe, and they're talking about pressure on the breakover phase that's torquing against the lamina. And then you've got your soft rides. There's a couple different type of soft rides in there, the clogs, and then the red and cuff, the red and ultimate that have been used, and I think that was unmodified. But even going back to the steel shoe, if you are working around the center of the foot, backing things up, and you can hammer roll it, put some brake over, you can shift it further back on the shoe, you can change that as opposed to the perimeter fit. But you can see on the perimeter fit shoe how much pressure there is against that lamina.
And this is a picture of
this is the picture of the wet lab.
This is lunchtime, it looks like.
No, this is actually going out there and applying what he was talking about with the fiber and the acrylic.
Now, you didn't drive your tank up there, did you?
I drove no.
No, you did not.
I took the big bird.
Oh, did you really?
And I kind of kept my hands out of that because I was getting ready to go from that immediately to the airport.
Oh, okay. You didn't want to get all
this. I don't
this.
want to set off the bomb sniffer.
Yeah, the stickies. Oh, yeah. That would be a prime example of, yeah.
Right. Because at this point, that acrylic, they don't like that in airports.
Have you ever been at an airport and they pulled you off to the side saying, "Hey, what does that smell?" Or you have to explain it, or no?
No, I've tried to stay relatively clean of that going through airports.
Because you're a shaky, shifty-looking guy, Mike.
Change clothes, take a shower, scrub hard. But I have had friends of mine where it has set something off and been pulled out of line and stuck over in the corner and handcuffed.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my!
Don't fly with acrylics.
Now
they don't know what it is. It could blow something up, and I know that Shane said that he's been pulled out of line because he did something, went to an airport without getting completely cleaned up. And still, if you got residue on your hands, and they're like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of what is this, over on the far right-hand side there, you've got an actual advertisement from a news article selling
rubber shoes.
Rubber shoes.
And I understand that this ad went out like 1901. Mm-hmm. So rubber shoes were going back out into the later 1800s when they had vulcanized rubber. And this is a Goodyear, as in Goodyear Tire Company, right?
Okay, so yeah.
And at this point, they were selling horseshoes and a lot of other rubber products. And then with the invention of cars and they needed to have round the rubber things to go down the road, they transferred into tires.
So read the top, what it says there. What's their pitch there? Says having halves shoeing bills. Here, give me that.
Yeah, here, you take it. But yeah, I don't know what a shoeing bill was in that day, but it's $1.50. I don't know how many times you could reuse them for a pair of them, which in 1900, I don't know what $1.50 bought.
So this is what it says across the top. It says large expense on horses stopped at once by the creators of Goodyear Equine Perfect Rubber Shoe, $1.50 a pair, complete and ready for use. So there you go, halves shoeing bills.
And at that time, there's a lot of people that could nail their own shoes on.
Hold on, I'm trying to read the fine print because it says doubles S. Doubles horses. Doubles horsely. I can't read the writing's bad on it. Things that are wings. Anyways, it's a very interesting. I'm gonna take a picture and put it on Mike Stine's Facebook page so you can see this as well.
Right.
So make sure you go over to Mike Stine's Facebook page. That's Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, and you can see this ancient news article. Where did you get that, by the way?
We were.
He stole it at the airport.
At the airport. they weren't looking. No, I did a talk down at Clemson some years ago, and they had a couple of vendors there, and one of the vendors had this.
So you stole it from him or bought it?
I had to give him a little bit of money for it.
Did you really? Son of a gun.
But it kind of, with us all, those kind of had to have it.
All right. Well, it's very cool.
Some of these new inventions are not nearly as new as we think.
Right.
And if you look back at an awful lot of these techniques that we are relearning and perfecting better now, some of these things go way back many generations when they had archaeological digs, and we dug them up. It's like, what is this? And we have to start figuring them out.
All right, guys, stick around. One more little segment. We'll let you get back to enjoying your ponies. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Move these things around so many times and put them back.
What have you done?
I don't know. There's something squeaking in here. Probably this guy. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Season 7, Episode 1 starts now. Make sure you follow us on your YouTube channel. Don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video as well. And you can see me in the studio waving to Mike waving to me, and all the different visuals and pictures and stuff that Mike has brought back from the Saratoga Vet Farrier Conference up in New York. It's called the National Alliance of Equestrian Practitioners.
Right.
And while he was out there, he met with Professor Chris Pollitt, Sherry Johnson, a doctor of veterinary medicine, and also Shane Westman. He's an APF, also accredited farrier, introducing modern materials. So what did we learn today? What did we learn from Chris Pollitt?
We
The laminitis research.
had a great lecture on laminitis causes, effects, what's happening down to the cellular level, and wonderful presentation. Anybody that ever gets a chance to listen to Chris Pollitt, they should. I'm afraid chances are getting very limited at this point, but the reason I went up there was because Chris Pollitt was presenting, and I've never seen him in person, and I figured I better do it.
This will probably be his last time around.
That sounds like this may be his last time to the States anyway.
Well, we hope he does well. And for those that are interested, his last name is spelled Pollitt. That's Chris Pollitt.
You should look it up
from Australia.
See what this guy's doing.
Also, what did we learn from Sherry Johnson, a doctor of veterinary medicine and rehabilitation, medication, injections, and therapy standpoint? What you can do to prevent injuries for your horses.
There's so much more that could be done, and when we start bringing them back to work, as far as what you can do as an owner and learn to do, and this kind of goes back to Ray Morris and the massage and all that sort of deal, that just a little bit on a regular basis, you can make a difference with your hands, with your thinking, being regular with stuff. You can start, if you got a horse that's inverted, you can start teaching them to lift themselves while they're in the stall, as long as everything permits clear with the vet and all that.
What sticks with me all the time is when you were telling me how to make a horse do a push-up,
right?
By tapping it on the chest and just having it pop up and stuff. Also, the conversation and the presentation that Shane Westman had, talking about modern materials that are being introduced now, as to the stuff from 1901.
From 1901, some of the stuff is being reintroduced, and there are some rubber shoes. There are some different poly materials. There have been a lot of different designs that have come up with over the years. There's, if you look back to the last 30 years, they've been coming up with new materials or new designs of poly shoes, and a few of them stick. A few of them have done well. A number of them are on the market. This is going to be the next big thing, and then year two, some of them, a lot of them have been gone. But the good things will stick around, and the practical things. And I don't know what the expense is on setting up to make these, but some of them have disappeared. And like everything we do, it kind of goes in cycles.
And the 3D printing that's out there now, that you can completely disassemble a horse's leg and tendons and everything and bones and put it back together, right, and disassemble and and learn a lot more from. And think of what's going to happen in the next 5 years or so.
We may be 3D printing every horse you would put on,
or the whole horse all together.
Right.
All right, and you could just ride the 3D printed horse.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Well, Mike Stine, welcome back. We're glad to see you. here in the studio. We're excited for season 7. Make sure you follow us on your YouTube channel. You can see us here in the studio. Make sure you like and subscribe over there. Make sure you follow Mike Stine also over on Facebook. That's Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Make sure you like him over there as well. And if you have a question or you want us to hear, or if you'd like Mike to talk about something, if you have a question for Mike, the way you get a hold of him is go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Fill out that little form there. And if you like Equine Dynamics, if you'd like the Equine Dynamics podcast to perform a live event at your location, you can get the information there as well. Just fill that out. Put your return address on there. We'll send you out some magnets, some stickers, some free swag that we have here from the podcast Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. All right, on behalf of Mike Stine over there,
Have a good day. Have fun with the ponies.
my name is Travis saying see you next week.
Have a good one.
There you go. Okay.
Just close your eyes and dream of how, dream of someone.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucky.
Good night, Ned.
Hi, Dusty.
Good night, Ned.